Hello and welcome to another edition of TV Enthusiast Weekly Videocast, Marvel versus DC versus TVE. I'm your host, Bill.
I had to give a dramatic note there. Sorry. Go on.
Okay. I'm your host, Will Rohrig. Joining me today is Tyson Gifford, Editor-in-Chief of TV Enthusiast.
Hello.
And today is going to be a short episode because there actually isn't much to talk about. Most of the shows that we follow are on hiatus this week, and so the only shows that aired this week were Legends of Tomorrow and Agent Carter. So that's what we will discuss.
Last week we talked about 3 episodes of Agent Carter and 3 DC shows. So we went from 6 episodes last week to 2 episodes this week.
Yeah, just 2 episodes this week. So it should be a pretty light and breezy episode. But let's get started by talking about Legends of Tomorrow, the latest episode of DC's spin-off of the Arrowverse, with like all kinds of crazy stuff happening. This episode saw Rip Hunter and the crew on the Wave Rider. They get captured by like time pirates, apparently.
Yep. As happens.
As happens when you're traveling through time and space, you gotta watch out for the pesky time pirates. They take Rip and several members of the team hostage, while the other members of the team are on the Wave Rider, struggling to keep it from getting invaded.
And Professor Stein to the rescue.
And Professor Stein was like the badass of this episode. He totally was. This episode also focused a little bit more on the relationship between Captain Cold and Heatwave, which is something they haven't done before in any of these shows. Was like it was interesting to get a little more insight into their relationship. Like, we actually got the story of like how they met and why they're together in the first place. And it's pretty sad because like this is the episode where Heatwave just goes completely off the reservation, and at the end of it looks like Captain Cold has to put him down, so to speak. Although it's an off-screen death, so you never know with those.
Heatwave was talking about feeding the rabbits alfalfa.
Yeah.
Old George Snart.
Old George
with the gun.
Yeah, got behind him with the gun.
So yeah, let's see. There were also flashbacks in this episode about Rip's past
or the future.
It's so confusing.
Yeah. Are these flashbacks or flash forwards or flash in betweens? I don't know.
Flash eventualities.
Apparently, it was about Rip's relationship with his wife. Apparently, they were both Time Masters when they met, and they fell in love, and like that's forbidden because you can't have attachments as a Time Master, apparently, because somebody could kill your ancestors or some crap like they made up. Like,
because plot.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. Because Felicity wrote the rules of the Time Masters.
Yeah. In all likelihood, yeah. She's all, if I can't have a good relationship with Oliver, then nobody can.
Nobody can.
Nobody can have any relationship.
Nobody can have any relationships. This jeopardizes both their careers, and the basic gist of that plot line is she gives up her career so that Rip can keep his. And they lived happily ever after until Vandal Savage kills her.
And his son. So yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, the flashbacks were in here about Rip's past, but like you said, the bigger focus on the story was the deteriorating relationship between Snart and Mick.
Yeah.
Heatwave and Captain Cold.
Yeah, because Heatwave is captured on the other ship with Jax and Rip, and Heatwave actually sells them out. So that he sells them out so that he can get the Time Pirates to send them back to Central City in 2016. And then that's when they realize, okay, well, he's out of control. Like there's this moment like Rip is just like freaking brutal. Like Rip is just like, I didn't want you. And, you know what good is like what good is like a pyromaniac with the IQ of meat?
So then he's all, I only took you because it was a package deal with
it was Snart. Gold.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I want Snart. I didn't want you. And that apparently just sets him off. You know, that's when he's just like, yeah, I'm done.
He's gonna burn it all down.
I'm just gonna burn it all down.
We also got in this episode, unfortunately for you, after what you said last week, they did bring back the relationship angle with Ray Palmer and Chiara or Kendra or Hot Girl or whatever.
I hope this doesn't become like some drama thing that like bogs down the show. Like we really need relationship drama in this freaking show.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay. Went into cardiac arrest and now they both died.
Oh yeah, so they're like totally
they both experienced death.
They're totally soulmates.
And now Sarah Lance will join them for a threesome and they'll be the Death Club.
The Death Club, yeah, exactly. Oh my god. It's like
Mick's all, you got room for a fourth? I got killed off screen.
Oh god. Oh Jesus. It's like, yeah, but the last thing this show needs is relationship drama. Let's not do this, Legends of Tomorrow. This is so painfully bad on every other show in this franchise.
They finally got away from the 80s and 70s that might as well just be the present. Yeah. And now they're going to start bringing in relationship drama.
Yeah. It's interesting because the next episode they're going to the 50s. So that should be fun, hopefully. Maybe.
They're going to run into Jake from 11/22/63.
Yeah, I know.
Well, that's the 60s, but still. It looks like the same era.
The 60s. Vandal Savage killed JFK. That's what happens.
We joke, but there probably is going to be a JFK episode of Legends of Tomorrow at some point.
Oh, there probably is. They're going to quantum leap. What else interesting about this episode? No, that's it. We covered all the bases. Ray almost died.
The captain of the other time ship, the Acheron, being all like, Rip, you're a traitor, and as soon as we get out of the situation, if we ever do, then I'm going to turn you right in. And then he saves her, and it's like, I misjudged you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that happened, but that was like lame, and like she was like totally forgettable. So who even cares about her?
That was just for plot reasoning, so we could get the data on where Vandal Savage is.
Yeah, exactly. So they could just get to the next episode. Let's have this totally useless character. Okay.
I don't even think they gave her a name. It was
yeah, they didn't even give her a name.
The other ship. They gave the ship another name, but not her.
But not her. Yeah, it was like, yeah, it's like that was weird. She knew who he was, and he didn't know who she was, or she didn't seem to have any name.
He just didn't care.
He just didn't care.
They went to school together. She copied off his test one time. They had a brief fling, but he just was. She's so forgettable. He just that's why she had all the animosity. She's all, notice me, senpai.
Notice me, senpai. Yeah, I know, right? apparently, the next episode, there's gonna be a new love interest for Sarah. It's gonna be a woman.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In the 50s.
In the 50s, yeah. So they're playing with that. I think that was in an interview like a while ago. Like the producer of the show said that, like, revealed that.
Well, it's interesting that they're keeping that they're not going to just kind of act like as if her relationship with Nissa never happened, because she had that, and then she was with Oliver, and it was like, okay, now she's like straight.
Yeah, now
every iteration we're seeing, and now with her doing this again, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, so she's bisexual, so we're gonna keep that alive.
They're gonna keep that aspect. I think that. Well, I think that would have been like a huge disservice if like if she was like only ever gay for Nissa.
Yeah.
She's like straight except for Nissa. It's like, okay.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. So that'll be kind of cool. That's pretty much all we got for Legends, isn't it?
That's pretty much all we have for there. I can't think of anything else notable that happened in this episode. Like, I kept waiting for like Jackson Stein to turn into Firestorm, and they never did.
It was basically a bottle episode.
Yeah.
Which is what they refer to when you have an episode that all takes place within like a single interior or like a single kind of set.
Yeah.
As a way of like conserving budget, because it's like, oh well, everything's kind of taking place within this confined space, so we need less location shooting, and everything's more controlled. And so that's basically what it was. Everything took place aboard these two ships, which are, I'm sure, exactly the same set.
Yeah, pretty much.
They must maybe change the lighting a little.
they literally looked identical, so yeah. And they get away with that. Oh, they're the same ships and the same fleet. It's like, who cares? They would look different interiorly. Stop it. You're just lazy.
Yeah, it was a bottle episode. So not much to talk about there.
Nope. So on to Agent Carter, which is like the finale of the season 2 finale of Agent Carter.
Back to the 40s.
Back to the 40s. Now we're going back to the past. Legends of Tomorrow style.
Hollywood Ending is the name of this episode.
Yep.
Season 2 finale. Hopefully not the series finale.
Hopefully not the series finale. That's the rumor so far, because the ratings have been weak for this season. They've been pretty weak, so we don't know if Agent Carter's coming back.
You know what I think they should do? I think they should have the series come back, but not as Agent Carter. They should have the show come back with Agent Carter in the lead, as like the lead character, but change the name from Agent Carter to like something like I don't know, Birth of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, and basically make it about the foundation of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They should, yeah.
That would be really kind of cool if they did that, because we know Agent Carter is a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D. We know that right now she's in the SSR, and she leaves the SSR doesn't become S.H.I.E.L.D. She leaves the SSR for S.H.I.E.L.D. and a lot of the SSR breaks off to become S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
So it'd be really cool if they kind of told that story, So I think that'd be kind of cool if they did that. They could even do that like as a movie. I don't know. I don't know if they would, but
I don't know if they would either. That'd be interesting if that was a movie. But this is the season finale, maybe series finale, we don't freaking know, of Agent Carter. I thought this was for a finale. I thought this was pretty weak for a finale. Like it just seemed like it had this feeling like, okay, we gotta wrap this up. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It it's definitely not intended as a series finale, so that's a
no,
little disappointing.
definitely
There's a big
not.
cliffhanger at the end.
Yeah, there's like a big thing that happens at the end that's not supposed to be series ending either. Um, but it has this air like they were just bored with the story because like one thing I noticed like this totally lacked tension in the plot. It's like
Mhm.
they came up with a plan, they executed it, it goes off,
Nothing went wrong. Yeah.
nothing goes wrong at all. It's like
Well,
you're
one thing kind of goes wrong, but it ends without any issues.
yeah, one thing kind of goes wrong, yeah, but it ends without any issues. So it's like I literally thought like I did think like they were gonna kill off Souza there just because that would have been like the dramatic thing to do.
Mhm.
Um, and you know it's a finale, so you know finales are always like where big dramatic things happen. So I was thinking like they would kill off Souza in like this heroic way, like he'd close it, but he'd get sucked in. But no, he's fine.
Yeah.
And and then finally like they like him and Carter they hook up
Yeah.
like finally after like all this romantic tension it finally like releases like in like this huge kiss and
Hollywood ending.
yeah Hollywood ending exactly but like it's just like they 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 come up with this plan to like stop Whitney Frost and open the rift. They open the rift and lure Whitney Frost to it to get the zero matter out of her and back into the other dimension. And you keep thinking, well, obviously that's not going to go as planned because this and that. It goes exactly as planned. Like, and that's what kind of makes me think like they were just like, okay, we got to wrap this up because normally you would expect like something would go wrong and like Whitney Frost would get the jump on them or like or maybe they'd hit her with the beam and it wouldn't work like they were thinking it would work or some just
Well,
to,
the thing
like
is we
more.
know that Zero Matter. It's already been pointed out. Zero Matter has made an appearance in Agents of Shield, and it's also going to be a big part of Doctor Strange
Oh, okay.
in the
I actually
storyline.
did not know that.
So for basically all the Zero Matter to just go away, just seems kind of like anticlimactic. Like they could have done something that goes wrong and shows like some of this dark matter is out there. There's no way to track it. There's nothing, and kind of had this kind of like a little bit of a darkness to the ending, you know.
Yep.
Um, and it would make sense because it would tie in with stuff that's going to end up happening later
Mm,
in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that would even fit more.
I don't even think they were even like caring about that. Like they
Mhm.
weren't even caring about tying it in with anything else. Like it didn't seem like there was like no hints towards anything like connecting it to this whole season actually there was really nothing in the season connecting it to the wider like MCU. There was nothing like the first season where we got Dottie Underwood who was from the same program as the Black Widow and stuff. They put like all this stuff in like the first season and that seems to have been missing from this season by and
Yeah.
large, like those little hooks into the wider universe.
The only thing I could think of that does kind of tie in, and it's a very loose tie-in, by the way,
Yeah,
is Jarvis and his wife losing the ability to have kids. Makes sense with like we know that Jarvis had a very close relationship with Tony Stark and was very important to Tony Stark as a child growing up.
right,
And that would make sense if he wasn't able to have kids, that he would grow attached to Howard's kid.
right. Yeah, totally. That
And
would make
that would
sense.
influence, and then of course we obviously know that Tony names his computer Jarvis, um, that's that kind of makes sense. That kind of ties in, but that's such a loose tie-in, you know? That's so loose. That's like reading into it loose.
That's reading into it. There's no like they don't even mention Steve Rogers or anything like once this season.
Yeah, that was a little strange.
That was a
I
little
kind of was
strange.
almost expecting him to show up when they did that musical part in her dream.
Yeah.
And they ended up cutting to Jarvis, you know, and I thought like when they started panning over and it was like, oh, what are they going to cut to? I was like, they totally got Chris Evans.
Oh no,
he's going to make this like brief, tiny appearance.
Oh no, they didn't totally get Chris Evans.
I totally thought they were going to have done that. I'm like, oh, that would be amazing. Like all they'd need him for is like a single scene, you know, it would be crazy. It would be a really cool tie-in, and they didn't do it. And then like they never, like you said, they never even mentioned his name.
Yeah, exactly. So this season was kind of weird in that respect too.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, I would say if I was to rate the season overall, decent. I'd say I'd give it like a B minus. I don't think it was as good as the first season.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I do like the kind of Hollywood stuff and the way that tied in, but of course, like I also really liked in season 1 how they were doing stuff like the idea of like women's dormitories for like single women to live in and that kind of stuff that was like such a thing of its time, you know? And so like I think Hollywood, it wasn't like, oh, this is a whole radical new angle. It was like that just kind of filled the spot for that other kind of timely thing from the first season.
I also felt like the main themes explored in the first season were like largely ignored or just given lip service in this season. Mm-hmm. Like sure there was like the feminist stuff, but it seemed like it didn't seem like, you know, like it was like trying to deliver some feminist message this season. And there was like some lip service to like the racial aspect.
That happened in like one episode.
Yeah.
And that was exciting when it happened. It was like, oh, this is really cool that they're doing it this way. And then that's like the only time they ever did it.
Yeah, that was like the only time they ever did it. So I was kind of disappointed there. I was like, okay. So in a lot of ways,
it's not that it's bad, it's just that they didn't go for it like they could have.
Yeah, it's not that they didn't go for it like they could have. So in a lot of ways, like I feel like this season has been weaker than the last season in a lot of ways. It's not even like major things. It's just like the little things, you know, that enriched that first season of the show. Just feel that they dropped the ball. And of course, I don't know. I don't even know if I like cared for the overall plot too much either. The Zero Matter stuff wasn't actually that interesting.
Yeah. It could have been, but it ended up just being like this kind of. It's something I kind of dislike when I see it in anime and see it in other things where they have like the idea of like there's this evil force and it's just evil and wants to consume everything.
Right, exactly.
And it has this draw and it deceives, but it's only for this one purpose of doing that. It has like no personality to it. There's no, you know what I mean? There's nothing beyond just the fact that it needs this craving. And that makes it kind of weak to me. Like I don't like that.
The Zero Matter itself didn't have any personality.
Yeah.
It's like Whitney Frost was consumed by it, but everything about that character was still Whitney Frost. Like the Zero Matter itself didn't have a personality, didn't seem to have a mind. I just thought it was kind of lame. I was like, yeah. The interesting stuff from the season was the stuff with Vernon Warner and Jack Thompson, and like the whole secret society, like the boys club that was like running the show, and the fact that Jack Thompson, being the head of the SSR, was getting like sucked into that, and was like maybe turning rogue against like Peggy Carter. I thought that was interesting. I
But
thought
the
that,
problem with that is that they demystified it too quickly. Like they
yeah,
introduced the secret society and they got into it, and then they basically defanged them and made them like this, like just a lackey group for Whitney. And there was like no other mystery, no other descent, no other connected interests. That it's like it was that's all there is.
yeah.
And that's kind of, I think, the problem with that part of the story is just that they it was a really interesting thing, and then they completely defanged it very quickly.
There was another thing too where they brought back Dottie Underwood, and
Mm-hmm.
again they didn't really go anywhere with that. Like she was fun for like the episode she was in, but then she just like disappears and then she's completely forgotten about. Like I thought she would resurface in this finale, because her story wasn't wrapped up, but no, it's like she doesn't exist anymore, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like she's out there but nobody cares. There
One thing I can say about this episode is there were a lot of really kind of cool little funny moments. I mean,
were.
the appearance at the very beginning of Howard Stark and Jarvis to save the day was kind of funny with them like leaning out the windows of their car, and Stark saying, "You just hit a 2-time Oscar winner,"
And Jarvis is like, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Stark. Whitney Frost is a very resilient woman."
Yeah. I thought that was funny. Or like when all the scientists were like arguing, and then he found out that they'd already figured out the problem, but what they were arguing about was what to name it.
Yeah, what to name it. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, this episode like had a lot of funny little moments, and in that's always been like a strength of this show was like it definitely always had a charm to it, like with the dialogue and the characters, from like Howard Stark to like definitely Peggy Carter, Haley Atwell's performance is she's just great as this character. Jarvis is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He is always fantastic. Like
It
every
was funny
scene
at
he
the
is
end
in.
too, with him like,
Yeah,
Peggy calling the cab and him being so disheartened.
yeah, I know.
And then when she finally goes, "Okay, you can drive me," and he's all like jumping out, like,
He's all like, yes, yes, yes.
So that was really funny. And Miss Jarvis ended up being pretty fun.
Yeah, Miss Jarvis. I'm glad we got to meet Miss Jarvis this season. That was another highlight of the season, actually meeting her and seeing how fun she was. And also another highlight of this season was like just that dramatic performance from James D'Arcy from like Jarvis, like that you just didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
Left field, like because here's this like happy-go-lucky like character, and then
The proper English butler, yeah.
and then his wife gets shot, and like he is like all of a sudden he's like out for blood. Yeah, it's like, oh wow, total 180 turn. But he totally sells it. He sells the crap out of it. It is really good. And, and I liked Peggy's rebuke of him too, where she was like, oh yeah, well, you get to come with me. For you, it's like an adventure. You get to come with me, but at the end of the day, you get to go home to your wife, and it's no big deal. But I have to deal with all this crap. But, like I don't get that luxury. And then now finally it becomes real for you, and you can't handle it. And I'm like, yeah, you tell him, Peggy.
There are a few cool. Peggy had a few good moments. Another one was when Thompson was with the group, and they're all like trying to figure out the problem, and he's like, "What can I do?" And she's like, "You can take our lunch order."
You can.
And then he kind of like pauses for a moment, and he's like, "I can do that."
Yeah. Which was a nice reversal from like season 1, where Peggy was doing like the lunch orders. So so that was like a definite nod to like the first season, right there.
I definitely think if they bring this show back, that they really do. I think the biggest issue with season 2, and it didn't like season 2 was still a very entertaining show to watch. But I
Yeah.
think that the problem is that even though they kind of address things like Zero Matter and had like this villain from the comics with Whitney being involved in this, I think the issue is that they're not addressing like the stuff that's going to directly affect the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And I think the first season kind of like tied in loosely with that. Like I said before, I think if the show comes back, and I do hope it does, they really need to get on the formation of Shield, thing. They really need to get.
They really need to get on. Yeah, this seemed like a distraction. This seemed like a distraction more than anything. Like my hope for season 2, my biggest hope was that this would build upon the mythology of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Totally did not do that in any way.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell the writers were not concerned about the MCU or the mythology behind it or anything. The writers just didn't give a crap about the MCU.
Yeah.
They just wanted to do Peggy Carter in Hollywood, and like, okay, fine.
And that's cool and all. And they introduced the Zero Matter, which is going to become a much bigger part of the MCU. Like, Doctor Strange comes out this year, right?
Yeah, I believe.
So this year, they've already said that Zero Matter, or it goes by a different name, Dark Force, I believe, is going to play a big part in Doctor Strange, in the Doctor Strange movie. That's like already been confirmed. So, there is that tie-in, but it's, I mean, like I said before, they already got all the Dark Force back to the origins, so there's nothing that happened that's of any significance. Like, it was in it, but like its presence in it doesn't affect anything. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So that's a little disappointing, and I want them to start the formation of Shield because I want to see like how that comes together. It would be cool if they could get some good guest appearances. I mean, it would be really cool. Like I said, it would have been awesome if they could have gotten Chris Evans for like just a single scene, a little tiny short scene that they could have just filmed like on the set of one of the Captain America movies or Avenger movies,
Right.
And literally just kind of very quickly put together like a scene that's like about the equivalent of like a post-credit scene to like put him into like a flashback or a memory that Peggy has, or like a dream. Like that dancing was, I think, would have been amazing if they could have gotten him in on that. I wonder if there was a plan to do that at some point and they just weren't able to do it, because that would have been really cool. And we know another one of the people that was involved in the formation of Shield was Tommy Lee Jones' character. So that's like another one, like if they did the formation of Shield, what if they could get Tommy Lee Jones on the show for like a few small appearances to set up that, or like in the first season we got to see the Howling Commandos.
Right, yeah.
What if we got to see the Howling Commandos again? That would be really cool. Like, those are all kind of things that would be really cool, especially with Peggy in a position where she seems like she's more powerful now. Like, last season ended kind of with Peggy, like, it ends like, oh, she saved the day, and everybody else got the credit. And this one seemed to end with kind of like Peggy at the top,
Yeah, definitely. And so we haven't talked about the big shocker ending. Was apparently like they killed off Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Apparently both shows this week ended with like a major character dying. It's like
seeming to die, yeah.
Seeming to die, at least. Nothing's been confirmed on either end, but yeah, it looks like 2 deaths this week.
Thompson, I think, is more likely to be dead.
Yeah, I think
I really do not think Mick is dead in Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that was totally off screen. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, Thompson, he could survive it, but I could totally see him being dead.
I could totally see him being dead. Yeah, totally. If the show comes back.
And not only was he killed, but apparently the reason he was killed, the shooter went into his room and retrieved Peggy's file.
Yeah.
Her apparently fake or false SOE file or whatever it was.
Yeah, apparently her false SOE file. So there was that. So that's Agent Carter.
Yeah,
Um, good
probably
show.
all of Agent Carter, but maybe.
Partly all, maybe not. Too premature. Time will tell. Hopefully not, but we'll see. That's it for this week. There was nothing else this week. Shield comes back next week, though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Secret Warriors,
Yeah, Secret
full
Warriors
effect with that, so that's going to be really cool.
should be fun. Should be totally fun with that. We got another episode of Legends of Tomorrow next week, but Legends of Tomorrow itself is about to go on hiatus. I think we got 2 episodes left, and then it's on hiatus.
Is it splitting its season, or is it running a short season?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's splitting its season, but I'd have to
Yeah.
look that up to be sure. Um, that's about it. Daredevil's coming on the 18th too. So
Yeah, that's coming up. I mean,
we
that's
got
what 12 days away, so we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks.
nice.
Not next week's podcast, but the week after's podcast, we should be talking about Daredevil, which would be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. So, Tyson, anything you want to plug?
Just check the site, TVEnthusiast.com. I recently did an article about sci-fi's return to quality. You can check that out. I talk about The Expanse and The Magicians and basically how sci-fi went from, a good network to a shitty network, and now they're kind of on the road back to being a good network. And they've been kind of hitting it out of the park with the last couple of shows they've put out. Not everything's good coming up from them, but mostly pretty good stuff coming. So you could check that out, and you could check out any of our other content on TV Enthusiast. Our podcast, which we record every Thursday, is up on Fridays. You can check that out. We got our 50th coming up in the end of the month, I believe. I think we're recording it on the 31st, I believe. Should be the episode 50. So you can check out all of that stuff. That's pretty much it.
All right. Yep. That's pretty much it for me. So we'll see you next week on for another edition of TVE versus Marvel versus DC. I was your host, Will Rohrig. Tyson Gifford joined me this evening, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.